you could say something about the what the characteristics of the Dhamma. You know, in the someone who sees the Dhamma sees that this Dhamma is svakato, sanditiko, akalika. So what do they refer to? So first of all, I mean, you've said something about svakato bhagavata dhammo, so it's well expounded, or it's well described, well told.
Yeah.
And I've heard it means things like it's it is to be experienced. No, it can be understood in this very life, or it's timeless principle.
Well, yeah,
Timeless
like it can
principles,
literally mean anything for people, and that's the case with any suttas as well. You can take them to be like a poetic inspiration, or you can assume that they mean something much more accurately. Either way, you have to approach with the assumption what they are for, and what their purpose is, and what they mean. So then if you are self-transparent, and if you have some decent habit of self-reflection, you would question your assumption in regard to it. So say you assume suttas to mean, kind of loose folklore, poetic inspiration of, talking about a life that's worth living as a renunciate and so on. That's correct in a way. Yeah, you can take them to mean that. But then if you start to read the same suttas, you get to find out that if you were to understand what the Buddha is teaching, you will be free from suffering. You will be fully enlightened arahant. So then you revise your assumption what suttas are and what they mean, and see whether your current understanding, and nobody denies there is some understanding of it, is that making you an arahant, or is that making you a sotapanna, or not? As in, like, right here, right now, do I have results of this understanding? Not like, well, I'm not yet, but I know I will be. How do you know that if you're not yet? So then if you see that you don't have something to show for, so to speak, you're not free from suffering, you don't know a way out of the escape out of the arisen suffering, then you need to reevaluate your assumption. And then you realize, okay, so now, consequently, what if I were to assume that suttas mean much more accurate things than this romantic poetic inspiration? And then you approach them in that manner, and then, which means correspondingly you have to make that amount of effort to understand it, and then you get to see that you'll be free from suffering. And nothing has changed. Even back in the day, you understand the Buddha's discourse, you're a sotapanna or an arahant. So today, you understand the Buddha's discourse, you're a sotapanna or an arahant. If you're not, means because you haven't understood it. So same goes for the term akalika. Okay, it can mean timeless, and it's beyond time, it will last forever, it's like nice and really something to strive for. Anybody can understand that. Does that understanding make an arahant? Or a sotapanna at least? Because again, suttas say that. If you understand the Dhamma, the characteristics of the Dhamma, means you understand the way out of suffering, means you at least have the right view. So when you think you understood what akalika means, is there a right view arising as a result of it? So that's the questioning a person should do. And if there is no right view, means the understanding is not adequate. So without that self-reflection, there is no really base for communication. It's just going to be, well, that sutta means this for me, and it might mean something else for you. And that's fine. But if you're honest to yourself, you realize, well, not both of us cannot be right, because there are two different meanings.
And different people can have a different understanding of what akalika means. But what's important is the understanding that the Buddha was...
Well, exactly, because, the Buddha was not just throwing these understandings for the sake of understanding. He was teaching them because they result in freedom from suffering. And even when sometimes the Buddha was talking about things that are indirectly related to the Dhamma, even that, it was actually related to some purpose he was making, some point he was making for the sake of freedom from suffering. When he was talking about a previous life or future lives or different places of rebirth, he was in the context of people who were listening for whom that will cause sense of urgency, so they'll practice in this life. He wasn't, giving a social commentary on the current Brahmin caste system or something. It's irrelevant. Suffering and freedom from it is the only purpose of his entire teaching, 40 years.
Could you say he wasn't really explaining anything?
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah, it was.
No. Explanation,
directing.
it's not. It's describing something you need to see for yourself.
Yeah.
If I explain it to you, you can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Either way, you won't get it.
Yeah.
Because you think now explanation is what I was talking about. So I can explain to you Four Noble Truths, and you can make perfect sense out of it, and yet you're still not free from suffering. But instead, I can describe Four Noble Truths, abstain from explaining it to you, and then you will have to recognize, or rather there is a better chance of recognizing that, oh, this is something that I need to see for myself in order for it to be understood. I cannot have a notion that, yes, I know what Four Noble Truths are, and at the same time I know that I'm not free from suffering. That is mutually exclusive. If you know what Four Noble Truths are, you are free from suffering. And I mean, I can explain to you, and if you are self-transparent, you will not take that explanation wrongly. You will know where to apply it. But most people, especially the ones with the other right view, which is vast majority, they don't know that, and immediately, explanation immediately means, oh, I made sense out of it, thus I understood it. And that's why it's well expounded. That first characteristic means that. The Buddha, the foremost in expounding the Dhamma, knew how to teach you or the audience without making them jump into assumption that they understood that which they didn't. So he would lead them onwards towards the right understanding, and that's a skill in itself. But it does always require the other party to meet you halfway.
So it's leading on with akalika. It's not leading. What's the translation? Leading inwards.
Well, if you're a sort of tree-hugging, flower-loving Buddhist spiritualist,
It leads you to the Dhamma in me.
I mean, leading inwards.
Yeah.
Okay, it's poetically pleasing, or leads you inwards to your heart or something. But what understanding arises on account of it? Are you saying that outwards is the problem? So basically, root of your suffering are things that are out there in the world? Well, that's not what the Buddha said. So leading inwards, leading outwards doesn't matter. In and out, like in or out, both in and out, none of that contains the problem. It's your craving in regard to inwards, your craving in regard to outwards, your craving in regard to both, that's why you suffer. But you choose to translate it as leading inwards, and again, it will be like a beautiful reading verse, and that's it. There's nothing else for you to do there. You made sense out of it, makes you feel good, and you think, okay, I understood what I meant by this. And at the same time, I know I'm still not Sotapanna yet, but I must be at some point in the future, because look, all these things on account of Dhamma are pleasing me, it means I must be doing them rightly. So akalika means timeless, means not pertaining to time, not involving time. Would you be able to sit here, talk to me, without your body being there alive at the same time?
No.
Was your body alive before? So now your mind is here communicating with me.
Was my body alive before?
Yeah, but then is your mind to now result of your body being alive before?
I can't know that.
You can't know that. And even if you say yes, it is there a more accurate way of describing that relationship?
Well, it seems to me, yes, that any notions of what my body was doing before are secondary to the fact that there's a body here
right now.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. So even the commonly misunderstood causation between this is first and this is the result of it,
Yes.
it's actually already contained within the causation of that simultaneous presence,
Yes.
timeless presence,
Yes.
presence that doesn't
That
require
hasn't
time to
Anything
pass.
to do with time. Yeah.
So you can say, yes, I'm talking to you because if I weren't alive yesterday or this morning, I wouldn't be able to talk here today to you. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
But it's not accurate enough. Even more accurately, you can say, if I'm not alive right here, right now, if this heart is not beating right here, right now, lungs breathing right here, right now, I could not talk to you right here, right now, which is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And if
I couldn't imagine the past. I can't imagine the future.
how can you remember you were alive yesterday?
Exactly.
Except on the
Unless
basis of being alive
this
today.
is here. Yeah.
But it's that wrong order that you
Yeah.
put your memory first. Oh, because it's this basically a view of linear kind of a persistence through time. Like we are in time.
Yes.
Time is this entity, and we are just sort of occupying it and flowing through it.
Which is kind of what I am.
What do you mean?
This notion of myself as being this something that's travelling through time.
Sure.
So you put that first. Then
You
you're
put the
basically
travel
putting time
first.
Yeah, you're
you
putting
put the travel first.
Yeah.
Because you can take the notion of yourself. You remember when you were a kid.
Yep.
When you were slightly older. When you were an adult. You remember now. And yes, you can choose to focus on these individual aspects that have changed.
Yes.
But how would you even know to relate them unless there is a certain unity that still persists?
So it's
How would you then
yes.
connect memory of you in the past with memory today? It would simply be inconceivable.
Yeah. So
Unless there is a unifying basis of your sense of self.
So can you say that it's about discerning the necessary basis, something which is more encompassing than this travelling through time thing?
Yeah, but give me a practical example.
My body, just mindfulness of the body. If you if like kind of putting that. So
there you go. So you have the idea. So somebody hears this now. Okay, so I'll practice mindfulness of the body to develop this simultaneous principle that these monks keep talking about.
Yeah.
See, that idea already is secondary to the body being there.
Yes.
You're already within the simultaneous principle.
Yes.
Even before you make the effort to understand it.
Yeah.
How can you think, I'll practice mindfulness of the body without that basis of the body being there provided for you as a possibility? Yeah. Impossible. Which means with that body there already enduring, there is your practice of mindfulness. Or practice of non-mindfulness, depending which way you go. So with this is. So that's what I mean. Even linear pursuits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is the cause, this is the result, trying to figure it out is secondary. Yeah. It's dependent upon the simultaneously enduring life or body or any other aspect, feeling, any other aggregate you want to take. Yeah. And that's what the Buddha meant when he described the 5 aggregates, when he came to the aggregate of sankhara. Oh, what is that? And then he describes 5 aggregates again. So whichever way you look, it's the 5 aggregates. They depend on the 5 aggregates, which is why you can look at them and attend to them and act out of them and so on. It's all within that dependence. And that dependence does not involve time. Because the notion of duration, which is what the notion of time is, it's already within that dependence on those same aggregates. Otherwise you would have no notion of duration because there's no reference point. So that's what, like, simultaneous principle, when we talked about it, it does not mean, oh, you look at the 2 things that are simultaneously, oh, look, this and this. You left yourself out. Simultaneous principle means with this as a basis, this is the experience. So with this is. Or with this, there is the being of this. Whichever way you want to translate it, both are in the present tense. But yeah, you can also say, well, it's not in that immediate present tense. It's in the present tense of this life or something. Sure, but then ask yourself in the beginning, like what I said, you should ask yourself, does that understanding result in direct inability to suffer amid suffering? No, because anybody can take it or leave it. Oh, Paticcapada applies to this life, or 3 lives, or 6 lives, or 27 lives. But does that understanding free from suffering? No. So how about you then try to understand it in a way that will free from suffering? Because the Buddha said it himself. The one who understands Paticcapada understands the Dhamma. One who understands the Dhamma understands Paticcapada. Sees it for himself, directly, as a result of which he cannot suffer. So that's why there are no alternative interpretations of Paticcapada. It's the principle of the Dhamma that, if understood, results in you being unable to suffer amidst suffering. And that's another simultaneous principle, by the way. With suffering, non-suffering. Not, oh, with suffering later I don't suffer. That's management. That's psychotherapy. No, with suffering present, I don't suffer. Or, if you haven't understood the simultaneous principle, with suffering present, I suffer.
It's like anything is situated. within a.
Not anything, you are.
Yeah. Okay. When I say anything, I mean anything I can experience. But yes.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is already based on your situated experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are always in a situation,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
Which means there is always a present enduring feeling,
Yeah.
present enduring intentions,
Mhm.
present enduring perceptions, always.
Whether you see that or not.
Yeah.